Hey folks, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. This is the good one. We're going to be breaking down UFC 209 from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, as Tyron Woodley and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson rematch after their epic encounter at UFC 205. In the kind of co-main event of the evening, you have Khabib Nurmagomedov against Tony Ferguson for the interim UFC lightweight title, which is a fight that is intriguing a fight as I have tried to break down in a long time. There's so many different ways of looking at this fight, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Overall, I really like the card. Fighters I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, Paul Craig from my country there, which I'm always going to be repping that guy. Got a good fight here against Tyson Pedro. Pedro's a guy who I think in years to come could be a real top contender. Overeem Hunt, great fight. Rashad Evans at 185 against Dan Kelly, interesting fight. Vannata Teymur. Overall, a very good card. Coming off UFC Halifax, where I went 10-1, had a really good event. Hoping to keep that going into this one here. I've had a really solid start to 2017. Bet-wise, I'm up over 10-11 units for the year. Coming off a very positive night in Halifax. Going 3.61 I think it was for the night. Lost a little money on DraftKings, not too much though, and overall doing very well. Back into the top 70 on UFC Fantasy, which is where I'm hoping to keep myself going, jump into the top 50. Shout out to Blazebry, who is top of my league that I created on UFC Fantasy. He's made a really good start. He might even be one of the best ones in the world at the minute in that top region there, so fair dues to that guy. Congrats. Hope you can keep it going. As always, please follow all the good guys down below me who make great fight week content, great interviews. James Lynch, who just bombs out interviews, is one of the best in the business. He's got plenty from this card here and other promotions as well. Half the battle, Darren, Sean, just I think since Sean's come in there, it's just really made it a very interesting show. I love listening to Sean's aspect in the fight game, and Dan's just always been great regarding fights. Just a great guy to hang out with. Shout out to all the guys on Twitter who we chat about fights kind of non-stop all the time. You know who you are. Less cash for this card, guys. Just a shout out to everybody. UFC Bro Picks, UFC Betting Sharks on Facebook, Severe MMA Podcast, Talking Brawls Podcast. I could go on. Rockstars here. I shouldn't forget that guy. The guy's doing fantastic this year. Hope he can keep it going, and go support that guy. Some big things coming from him in the future. Just keep an eye out. So let's get into this card. We're going to be starting down in the bantamweight division. We've got Albert Morales against Andre Soukhamthath. These first two fights were literally put together like a week before the event, a week to 10 days before the event, and a couple of decent fights in all honesty, on very short notice. We'll start with the newcomer here, Soukhamthath. He's the CES 135 pound champion, bantamweight champion, and coming in here, he's a guy I knew about, trained out at Black Zillions. I think he's at Combat Club, or he has been, or he was at Black Zillions in the past, but I think he was in training, but he never had a fight come up, so I would think most of the people there have kind of dispersed into different groups. I would expect him to probably go with Henry Hooft over to the Combat Club there, his new gym. Really, overall, pretty good fighter there. He's coming in, went 5 rounds, which I think is very beneficial. So he's had that experience of going long into a fight and winning late into a fight as well. Just an overall pretty solid fight. His striking's pretty good. Don't like that he gets kind of pressed against the cage a little bit, because Cody Norby did that predominantly in their fight and really tried to control him from there. I don't like that he accepted that a little bit too much, but in that fight, in round number 5, I think he was up probably 3-1 if I remember watching that now a couple of days back, and he came out with a beautifully timed knee which absolutely took Norby straight out of the game. The Asian sensation, as he calls himself, got the win there. A lot of fans in the crowd. He's from Rhode Island, so you know what the people's like over there on the East Coast. So gets a lot of support. Really interested to see him in the UFC. He's a guy I thought he might get in later in the year. I didn't expect him to get in so soon. I don't even think he did either. But he's got himself a really tough fight here against Albert Morales, a guy who I think has got a lot of he's a prospect. I do think the guy's a prospect. Is he a little bit early in his UFC run? Possibly. And I think he's been given a couple of really hard fights within the 6-7 months he's been with the UFC. He had that draw with Alejandro Perez, which I think personally he won. I gave him that fight scoring wise. I just thought he got off a little bit more in the first couple of rounds. He did fade late into round number 3 and Perez came back into it a little bit. Then he went down to Brazil to face Thomas Almeida, and that is nothing to fuck around with, is going down to Brazil and facing that guy, because we all know, I know he was coming off that loss to No Love back in May of last year. So it was a fight, I think, to really set Thomas Almeida back up again. Albert Morales went down there and gave him all he could, and gave him a fight, but eventually the steering shots of Thomas Almeida really put a hurting on Albert Morales, and the body shot just crumpled him and finished there. Don't like the fact that he's maybe coming back maybe 3-4 months after that. I would give him another couple of months and maybe see him come back in May or June, or whenever that would be. But the guy's a fighter and he likes to get in there and scrap, and I think this is going to be a very fun scrap. I'm seeing some people picking Soukhamthath, and I think this is a do or die kind of fight for Albert Morales here. He can't afford a loss after that. I know that he had to go and face Almeida, which was a tough fight. I just think that he needs this big time here, and I think he's going to come out. He's going to be very, very aggressive. He's going to try and put Soukhamthath against the cage and try. I think this could be a very fun fight, like a really back and forth fight. And I do worry a little bit if it goes late that Morales' gas tank might be a little bit jaded. But Soukhamthath is coming here on very short notice, as is Morales. But from what I've seen of Morales, he's been training, he's been going hard. So my pick's going to be Albert Morales. Possibly a TKO. I think I'm more comfortable picking him via decision. But a fun fight to start the night. Women's strawweight division, we have Amanda Bobby Cooper against Cynthia Calvillo, a newcomer who's coming in from Team Alpha Male. 3-0, undefeated. Lost once in the amateurs. I watched that fight earlier on, and just wasn't her night. I think she couldn't get the takedown she was looking after, but she rebounded from that fight with a very big win over Aspen Ladd, who is someone that a lot of if you're a hardcore fan of watching other organisations, especially Invicta, you will know who Aspen Ladd is. She's undefeated as a professional. She will be in the UFC this year. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. And Calvillo beat her before she made a run into the professional ranks, where she beat Montana Stewart last time out. Just really put a beating on her. She's on her feet, she's not good. She's a little bit sloppy. She sets things up pretty badly. She is looking, the way this fight's going to go is that Cooper's going to want to keep this and use her boxing skills, and Calvillo's going to look to take her to the ground in a fight with Gillian Robertson and Montana Stewart. If she gets a top position, she always seems to find a top position and rain strikes down on you there and looks to move to a better position. And she's very, very subtle with it, and she's very heavy and hard to get off. So, like I said, this is the way this fight's going to go. Calvillo's going to look to really push Cooper against the cage there. But I think she's going to have to cut Cooper off, because I remember watching her in Belfast against Anna Elmos. She likes to kind of move out to her left a little bit, so she's going to have to cut off. It might be later on in the fight that she finds this takedown and possibly gets from there. Amanda Cooper, a very impressive kind of win against Anna Elmos, but we've seen there that Anna Elmos since then has retired. So maybe that was already in her mind. Maybe she realised that she wasn't of the level to maybe compete with some of these girls. Before that, she got to the final of the Ultimate Fighter, lost to Tatiana Suarez, who's a really good fighter. Just think that Cooper's just not anywhere near that level yet. She's got a 2-2 record. I like the newcomer in this one. I like Cynthia Calvillo. I think the longer this fight goes, I can see Cooper coming out using her boxing early, maybe keeping it at distance. But once she starts to wear down, I think that Calvillo is going to come forward and she's going to find takedowns and really put a beating on Amanda Cooper here. I'm a little bit unsure, because she is a UFC debutant and she hasn't been a pro for very long. But what I see her, I think she has enough to beat Amanda Cooper here. I could be completely off there. I feel like I need to go with the newcomer in this one. Just been watching her in Belfast myself, I wasn't completely sold on Amanda Cooper. and I think Calvillo can really bring the fight out of her here. So I'm going to pick Cynthia Calvillo via decision. It could be a very close decision, but I do like her to try and win this fight here. So Calvillo via unanimous. I'm going to go split decision. And the main event of the UFC Fight Pass prelims, we have Tyson Pedro against the Bear Jew, Scotland's own Paul Craig. Now, I was one of the few that was on Paul Craig in his UFC debut against Luis Henrique de Silva, and I had that feeling that he was doing everything right. He did everything right. He got out to Sacramento like 2 weeks before his fight, got acclimatized, did a lot of good training over there, and training on the run up to his fight, kind of nice sessions to really get himself into his UFC debut. And from the people that I know here in Scotland, I asked about it, he just everything went perfect for him, and I thought he showed a lot of his skills in that one. I do think his striking has a lot of work left in it, but I thought he did enough in that fight to keep Frankenstein at bay, put him against the cage, and use those kicks, and then get to the takedown. And once this guy, no matter if he's off his back, he got takedowns in that fight as well, whether he's off his back or he's on top, this guy is a handful on the ground. And he got the submission in that one there. I cashed that, I think it was plus 180. I cashed that underdog there. I know MMA Kelton did the exact same. There wasn't too many of us on that play there of Paul Craig, but we cashed that bet. And this is the fight, I think, a set-up fight for him here, where it wouldn't surprise me come the summer. There's been rumblings of a Glasgow card June or July time, and it would not surprise me in the slightest if Paul Craig headlines that card in Glasgow. I've just got a feeling it could happen with Joanne and Stevie as supporting act. I think it could happen. They'd sell out the Hydro in no time whatsoever. And I think Paul Craig could be in for a little bit of a push, because there is fighters that have left the UFC or leaving the UFC. Sukumar looks like he's left. Krylov's left. So there's an opportunity for him to push through in that division a little bit here. And I think he's got a very winnable matchup. I think a very good matchup against Tyson Pedro here. A young guy, 5-0, coming off that win over Cleo Roundtree Jr. In his home country there. Didn't look great in the feet. So I think that Paul Craig, even though not great in his feet himself, can really put the pressure on Tyson Pedro and look to really put it on him very, very early. Very interesting if this goes to ground, because I think Pedro has some skills down there, but when I look at the pair of them, I think that Paul Craig has the more experience, and he's dead. If he gets a chance to get a body limb, a neck, an arm, if he gets that opportunity, he's gonna take it, and you're going to be tapping out, you're going to be submitting. He's did it. I've watched it for the last few years, and he's just did it. Even being in bad positions, like in that fight with Carl Moore, he probably lost that first round, and he came out and he got the slightest little opportunity to get his neck, took it, and it was over. And we've seen that with Henrique de Silva. He got that arm, it slipped a little, but he readjusted and got it, and he got that there. I've been thinking about a decision for this one, because I think Pedro is tough. I'm actually going to go a submission. I think Craig's going to look for this, and just look to get that finish there, and I think it could be in for a big sum here. And I know I'm probably going to get some shit for picking Paul Craig here, because he is a fellow Scotsman, and I do want to support my own, but I do think this is a favourable matchup. Most of the people I'm speaking to are picking Paul Craig. Plus, I am sitting here with the Bear Jew shirt on. I can't not support my own there, and I just think this is a favourable matchup for him. So I'm going to go Paul Craig. I'm going to go a late second round submission there. So that's the Fight Pass portion done. We're going to move on to Fox Sports 1 in the heavyweight division. And one thing I'll add as well with Paul Craig, he's been out in Las Vegas and he's been there for over a week, as has Mark Godbeer. Godbeer has been training at the Scottish Hit Squad up here. So that's something to take away. I like the way that they've did that. They've got out early and they've adjusted, because Vegas is a weird place to get acclimatised to, just be around all the buzz and that. So, but yeah, we'll move on. Mark Godbeer against Daniel Spitz here. From what I've seen of the very limited footage of Daniel Spitz, there's not much of it floating around. Big man, kind of tall defence, he can get hit, and the guys that he's faced, the opposition, is not great. Godbeer was supposed to face Todd Duffy here. I would have liked Todd Duffy in that one, I like Mark Godbeer. He's a guy that I've watched for many years over here in the UK scene. Got a chance to speak to him in Belfast. Really nice guy. And just, he didn't, I think the nerves maybe got to him a little bit in his UFC debut. And Justin Ledet, nobody expected like Ledet to come out there and submit Mark Godbeer here. This is a fight where I think that he can come out and try and assert his dominance very, very quickly. He's going to be the smaller guy. The reach and the height is going to be with Daniel Spitz, but I think that Godbeer can really find his chin and put it on him. If he can keep him at bay and set up his shots well, I think that Godbeer can get in close. And I don't like Spitz's head defense. I think he keeps it in the air a little bit too much, and he can catch Daniel Spitz there with a big shot and really put him down, put him to sleep. So I'm going to go Mark Godbeer. I'm going to go another second round finish here. I'm going to go TKO. Spitz is coming in here on short notice. Like the fact, like I said with Craig, that Godbeer, they're out in Vegas and they've been side by side through this whole training camp. I like that a lot. So I'm going to go Mark Godbeer, TKO round number 2. Moving on, bantamweight division, Iuri Alcantara against the returning Luke Sanders. It's been a while since we've seen Luke Sanders. We've seen him up at featherweight. He's moved down to his natural class of bantamweight here, and he's got himself a really tough fight. When this matchup was made, I thought this is a big fight for Luke Sanders here. I know he's coming off that win over Blanco, but coming into this division, Alcantara is no joke, and I saw that with my own eyes in Manchester, where he put on one of the slickest submissions I've ever seen. Like, just sitting there watching, it was so slick. And just a beautiful thing to watch, especially in that late in the morning. It was like very, very early in the morning, but to see something like that really lifted me. I was like, oh, that's some good shit. Like, so fair play to him. And just an overall a tough fighter, this Alcantara. At times he can show up and not look great, and that was my worry in this fight here. Luke Sanders has been away for a year. Not entirely sure what he's been doing, whether he's just been maybe getting himself better, just better in his fight game, or maybe there's been another thing that's cropped in it which is taking up his time, or maybe he's just recovering from something, I don't know. But I like Alcantara in this one. I just think he's everywhere this fight goes. I think that Sanders has the speed here, and maybe the wrestling, but Alcantara is really tough to take down, and he's really dangerous to take down because he can lock on submissions. And I think that if Sanders wants to take it there, he's kind of rolling the dice a little bit, because Alcantara is very, 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 very well adverse down in there. So I think that Sanders' game plan has to be try and keep it in the feet and kind of look to take it in to the later rounds and really try and put it on Alcantara and win a very close decision. When I was thinking about this fight, which way it would go, I was a little bit, when it first came out, I liked Sanders, but then I went watching the tape. Alcantara is just a tough out for anybody at bantamweight. So I'm going to pick Iuri Alcantara. I'm going to pick him via decision. Moving on, Mirsad Bektic against Darren Elkins. Really fun fight. Looking forward to seeing Mirsad Bektic get a legit opponent. He faced Russell Doan, who he's a 135er coming up, and he came in there on like days notice, maybe 4 or 5 days notice at UFC 204. But Bektic, coming off that injury, he looked fantastic, and he showed you all the skills that we've seen in the past. Elite control on the ground, very good takedowns. I know it was against a guy coming up, so he was a lighter guy, and he was the bigger guy in that fight. I just think this guy has got star potential written all over him. I think he's going to be a contender within the next 18 months. A little bit surprised actually that it took him another 6 months to fight, because he came back off that injury. I saw when he won that fight at 204 that Joe Silva ran to him. I thought he's maybe going to get a quick turnaround, because it was a fairly quick fight. He never took any damage and looked good in doing so, but he's taking his time here, and he's getting a clear step up an opponent in Darren Elkins here, who is the kind of king of the grind pretty much, and Mirsad Bektic can do that as well. I just think that if you go all the way back, I mean he faced Chas Skelly, and he kind of got a little bit knocked out in that fight. I know it looked like he took that one knee, and then he went down and he took another illegal knee. So that's something to look out for if Skelly was kind of holding Bektic up against the cage quite a lot in that fight. If Elkins did that a lot to Chaz Skelly, I mean, he did that continuously for their whole fight. So if Elkins comes out and does that, I think he has opportunities, but I think that Bektic I just think he's better than Darren Elkins everywhere, in every facet of the fight game, even the grinding style. I think that Bektic is better than him, and I expect Darren Elkins is a tough guy to finish, but I think Mirsad Bektic can get him down, can pepper him with shots and get a stoppage. Not confident in him getting a stoppage, but I think he can do it. But I think it's going to take a long time of being in an advantageous position and really kind of raining strikes and trying to make Darren Elkins quit, because even though that is very, very tough to do and we haven't seen it very often, I just think that Bektic right now, if he's coming in here injury free, is on another level, and he's going to move up through the UFC featherweight ranks very, very quickly. I'm going to go Mirsad Bektic via third round TKO there. And your kind of main event for the prelims here in the heavyweight division were Marcin Tybura against Henrique. This fight was supposed to happen, UFC 208 in Brooklyn. Got pulled, I think, like 4 or 5 days. Tybura was supposed to face Justin Wills, and Willis, I think it is, Justin Willis. He got pulled from there. I think he missed weight. He's a big guy, and he just never really had a good weight cut. He was far too much out. Said he got ill. So this match got rescheduled, which I thought was pretty good. Henrique got pulled from that card, I think, from an eye issue. He had eye surgery after his fight in Brazil, and the New York Athletic Commission are just a little bit kind of bollocks at the minute. So, and they never let him fight in that one. But it is what it is. It got rescheduled for this one here. Really close fight. I've been going back and forward in this one a little bit. When it came out originally, I liked Marcin Tybura pretty handily, but after watching Henrique, I mean, he's come in, he's looked very, very good in his last 2 wins. Beat Christian Colombo, finished him via submission. Beat, what's his name, Dmitry Smolyakov as well via submission, rear naked choke. So the guy, he can go hard in the fight and he can control a lot of the fight here. I just think that Tybura is a little bit more seasoned and a little bit more... I don't think he's that much better. I just think seasoned, that's the word I'm thinking of. Just a little bit more savvy, knows how to kind of win fights a little bit more. I do think that Tybura can be got at, and he's coming off that big win against Victor Pesta. It was a massive head kick, but Victor Pesta is not anywhere near an elite heavyweight. I expect Henrique to beat Victor Pesta, in all honesty. I think that Victor Pesta gets caught in a lot of places. I think Luis would honestly stop him in that one there. So I feel like I should be picking Henrique in this one, but I've been pulled more to the Tybura side. I think everywhere the fight goes, I think he's just maybe a little bit better. Maybe not in the jiu-jitsu stakes, but in the striking, I think he's better if he can. It's a hard fight to pick. I'm picking Tybura, but I'm picking him via a very close decision. I think I can see Henrique giving him some problems there. So that is my pick there. It's going to be Marcin Tybura via decision. I'm just going to take a sip of water, guys. A main card. Starting off in the heavyweight division. I really like this main card, by the way. I think it's a really fun looking main card. Alistair Overeem against Mark Hunt. Now, these guys faced off a long time ago. Alistair Overeem won by decision. Since then, Mark Hunt really has come on leaps and bounds in his MMA game. We all know what killer striking the guy has, but he's got his grappling in order enough to compete with the elite guys. Saying that, Brock Lesnar took him down very, very convincingly. Stipe Miocic just had a field day with Mark Hunt in that one, took him down. And you all know my feelings on Alistair Overeem. Never been overly his biggest fan, but I think this is a very winnable fight for him here against Mark Hunt. There is the issue with Mark Hunt suing the UFC. Don't like that coming into this fight. One thing I don't like from Alistair Overeem's point of view is he's coming off that loss to Stipe Miocic. Now, that the chance of winning the UFC title is gone. So is that going to take away from his intense coming in here? Is he going to want it as much anymore? So that's what I'm trying to say. On the feet, I think it's very, very. Overeem is overall your better striker, more technical, more patient. I think in the last few fights before the Miocic fight, he has shown a patience which has been very beneficial for him, because we know he can't take a clean shot in the chin, and he showed that back in his UFC days against Travis Brown and so on. If you take that clean shot, you will put him down. Antonio Silva's another one there, but he's shown a lot of smarts about him as Alistair Overeem there, and I like that. See, I'm not a fan of Alistair Overeem, but I do like the way he's fighting at the minute. And I think if he fights smart in this one here, uses his grappling and uses his wrestling, which I think we don't see that much from Alistair Overeem. He has got it way back in back in his pride days, back in his light heavyweight days. He showed that he's got really good jiu-jitsu skills, and that's something I think he needs to try and use here. Don't think he'll stop Mark Hunt. I think there's probably a good chance. I was going to stay clear of betting this one. I think I might put something on Alistair Overeem via decision. I think that it's going to be maybe plus 160, 150 to plus 160, maybe even a little bit higher. If it is, I'm probably going to put a bet on that because I do like it. I might put it in a parlay. So my pick's going to be Alistair Overeem, and I'm going to pick via decision. Lightweight division, Lando Vannata against David Teymur. I think this is going to be a good fight, and I think a lot of people are really writing off David Teymur. I think the guy's got enough intensity and enough skills about him to really pose a threat for Lando Vannata and potentially score an upset victory here. I'm not 100% sure in picking David Teymur. I like what I've seen of Lando Vannata. I think his all-around game is just a lot better than David Teymur. Is still a very, very green fighter. He has very good striking, big power, but I see little chinks in his armour there, which I think Vannata can use. Vannata has a wrestling game that not many people have seen. He's come out, he's very exciting. We've seen that knockout of John McDessie, where he caught him with a beautiful kick and just knocked him out there. David Teymur hasn't faced anyone even of the level of John McDessie. He's faced Martin Svensson, a European guy who I've known for many years, a tough guy, but probably not a UFC caliber fighter. And then Jason Novelli, he beat him there. I don't even think he's with the UFC anymore. So I think on the feet, I think Vannata's funky style he could land something. Teymur's speed and power could maybe put a little bit of a beating on Lando Vannata. We've seen, but he was in there with Tony Ferguson and he dropped Tony Ferguson. So this guy has really good striking himself. I do think he's got the overall better game to take this fight to different places. I can see him putting him against the cage here and working a takedown and getting that takedown as well. And I just think he's got more tools. He's further ahead in his MMA game than David Teymur at this minute there. So close fight. I mean, I've some of the guys I speak to, if the number's right, what I've been saying is I think the line's going to be way off here from what this fight should really be, because Vannata, I know he's coming off that one of the best knockouts of 2016 against John McDessie. He's coming off that fight with Tony Ferguson where he gave a really good account of himself. Not many people know David Teymur, not unless you're a really hardcore fan. You've seen him for the last year and a half. This is where I think the line's going to be way off here, and some people might take a shot on him. If I had money on, I don't think I'm going to bet anything in this fight. If I had anything here, it would be Lando Vannata. I feel more confident throwing my money on him with his overall skill set and so on. I'm going to pick Lando Vannata. He could get a finish in this one. Yeah, I'm actually going to pick him via finish. I'm going to pick him in the third round. I think his overall accuracy and his patient striking could come into fruition here and maybe catch Teymur with his kind of wild swinging style and really catch him with something nice. So I'm going to go round number 3 when both guys are a little bit tired. I'm going to go Lando Vannata via third round TKO. Interesting fight. Middleweight division, Rashad Evans against Daniel Kelly here. I've been completely off the Daniel Kelly train here. and I think I've probably picked against him every single time, and it's came back to bite me in the ass every single time. He gets the job done no matter what. I thought that down in Australia, Chris Camozzi was going to really put it on him, and turned out not to be the case. Chris Camozzi, Daniel Kelly, I should say, just really put it on Camozzi and won down there. Beat Antonio Carlos Jr., beat Steve Montgomery, lost to Sam Alvey, who he just got caught with a shot there. That happens. Alvey's got big power and he can't catch you. But you just cannot write off Dan Kelly. And I know a lot of people, I think my man Dan Levy, Half the Battle, he's been on this guy from the start. I've just never been on the hype, the kind of train of Daniel Kelly. And I wish I was, because I would have made some money if I did go with him originally. But interesting fight here for the simple reason that I think Rashad Evans is done, but is he done enough to where he's losing to somebody like Dan Kelly? And that's no disrespect to Dan Kelly, because this is a former UFC light heavyweight champion, but this is a shell of the former UFC light heavyweight champion. Plus, this is the first time moving down, dropping like 20 plus pounds down to the UFC middleweight division, 185 pounds. So that's something. He's going to have a tough week cutting weight, unless his weight's already looking pretty decent. I don't think it will be. And he's coming off two pretty big losses. Ryan Bader, I thought, pieced him up, and he did it easily. And Glover Teixeira just knocked his chin clean off. And his last win was against Chael Sonnen, who's looked a shell of himself. Dan Henderson, that's a legit win, because Henderson's always game as fuck. So honestly, I really don't have a clue about this fight, because I think Dan Kelly, that's what I'm saying, if you put your money on Dan Kelly, he's going to keep on fighting, he's going to keep fighting late into the fight and look for that finish. But I'm just a little bit, has Rashad Evans really went down to the level of possibly losing to a Dan Kelly? I think it's possible, but I say I'm gonna stick with Rashad Evans here. I think he can possibly be the slicker striker on the feet and be a little bit awkward for Dan Kelly to hit on when he's coming forward. Evans can get out and hit him with some shots. We all know that Dan Kelly's got that elite judo background, but I think that when Kelly's coming in, Rashad could get him and possibly put him down and win the fight, kind of getting takedowns and not really blanketing him, because I think that Kelly can get back to his feet. But I just see him being the slicker fighter. It might be one of these things where I look at the weigh-ins and see how tough a weigh-ins or how good Rashad looks on the scales before I commit to. That's something I should do. Is maybe I'll leave a note in my drop-down box. I'm going to pick Rashad Evans. I'm going to pick him via decision. But I'll leave a note in the drop-down box and tell you my feelings at the weigh-ins, how I feel about seeing Rashad on the scales and so on. I'm going to go Rashad Evans via a very kind of close 29-28 decision there, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not confident in that one. I think Dan Kelly has skills to get a pretty big upset victory here. Nobody would have seen this like years ago, Dan Kelly coming in here and beating Rashad Evans, but I think it is entirely possible. I just feel confident picking Rashad Evans via decision. Moving on to the fight, which I have been going back and forward with so much, and I have been doing it for the last year and a half. I think they've been matched up a couple of times. I even made pictures of event pictures for these two. It was a matchup I was very, very excited about, and now I think it's came together at the perfect time. Both guys, I mean, Khabib's never lost. Ferguson's on one of the biggest streets in the UFC, if not the biggest. Max Holloway will be around about that as well. And just two clash of styles, which I've been watching so much tape on this, and I've been going back and forward so much that I've been switching picks pretty much all week. And then in the middle of the week I've came into who I am picking, but I am no means confident in this pick. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Tony Ferguson. Let's talk about Khabib. What does Khabib have? Elite sambo, elite control, elite strength. Striking is something that I think he tried to do against Michael Johnson and completely failed and got hit a few times. And once he kind of got himself a little bit rocked a little bit, he thought, right, back to the bread and butter, back to what has got me this huge undefeated streak, undefeated record that he has, and went down there. And I mean, thing is with Michael Johnson, he did stop a couple of takedowns initially, but this guy has got such a grip and strength on you that if he gets anything on you, you're going down. I don't care what you say. You're going to take this guy. He's going to take his opponent down. He's just got. It's something I revel at watching. It's just his control on the ground and just how much of a beating he can put on you. He just mauls you to death. And do I think he could do that to Tony Ferguson for 5 rounds? I don't. I think over 5 rounds, this fight very much is in Tony Ferguson's wheel cart here. When you're looking at pros and cons for both fighters, I think Khabib is striking. He can't strike with Tony Ferguson. I think Ferguson is the longer, snappier fighter. He pops the shot off a lot better, and he's just overall a better striker than what Khabib is. When it goes to the ground, I think that Khabib is obviously his wrestling, his sambo, his control is elite, as it comes. But Tony Ferguson is very versatile down the ground and shows a lot of really different techniques. He'll use Imanari rolls to, if Khabib catches like a leg, he'll use an Imanari roll to roll out to the side and get back to his feet, where he's back in his where if this fight stays on the feet, he's winning this fight all the time. I think that Khabib will put Tony on his back. I think he will control Tony. But I think Tony can get off nasty elbows on the ground and do enough submission attempts to really put Khabib under pressure and maybe lose positions where Tony has the opportunity to get his back off the canvas and get back to his feet. Not many people have did that against Khabib, if I remember right, but I think Tony has the kind of game and the funkiness about him to really do that as well. Tony Ferguson coming off an elite performance against Rafael dos Anjos, but dos Anjos had his times and his spots in that fight, but it was predominantly with the striking where he got off. Grappling wise, it really wasn't close. Been going back and forward in this. One thing I will say is I think the line is completely off. There's a lot of people that I know, good people, Rockstar Z, Dan Levy, my boy Ma, Justin from BroPicks, they're all on heavy on Tony Ferguson, and I don't blame them one bit, because the number, I think it is 175 over here in the UK, plus 175, and that is crazy. That line is way off. I see this as a pick'em fight. If not, Khabib maybe just a favourite, Tony maybe just an underdog, but 170, and this is probably what's been throwing me off a little bit, because I would love to bet Tony Ferguson, but I feel more confident picking Khabib Nurmagomedov, because it is Khabib motherfucking Nurmagomedov. The guy is, it's just when I say, right, I'm going to pick Tony Ferguson, I'm like, oh shit, but it's Khabib. And I do think he's going to have spots in this fight where he's going to control Tony Ferguson. I really do. Danny Castillo did it. Now I know I might take some shit for saying Castillo did it, and he just laid there and didn't look to do anything, and Tony looked to move around and look for submissions and so on and so on. But I've seen there that somebody can put him on his back and control him. Khabib is the most elite guy at doing that and really putting a beating on you. So I can see Khabib coming out really quick, winning 2, maybe 3 rounds. That's what I'm banking on. But then I'm going into like Tony's going to come into it big in rounds 4 and 5. I don't think he can keep up for 5 rounds. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I can see him doing just enough to win this fight, and potentially it's a submission on offer. I think it is, but Tony is very, very good on the ground. So, and he is a black belt in the 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So that's something that it may stop him from getting submitted. It's kind of a long shot, that one. I'm going with a very, very razor thin win here for Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's either, I think it's going to be the razor thin, or it's going to be complete dominance where he puts a beating on Tony Ferguson, and he does it predominantly for a majority of the fight. But my pick's going to be Khabib Nurmagomedov. Good luck to all you bettors of Tony Ferguson that have piled on, because I think the number is right there and it might even climb higher in fight week. I just feel that it's hard to pick against Khabib. I'd find hard to pick Khabib against anybody. I think Conor has the striking to really put it on him, but it's a tough fight. Tough fight for Conor. I'm going to pick Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm going to pick him via decision. Not overly confident, I'll be honest with you. And the main event of the night, another really interesting fight. I see I'm 40 minutes in here. I do run a little bit with these cards. Sometimes I run a little bit too long, but I get talking and I can't stop. But I know you guys hopefully appreciate that, because you've been asking for this. And I think hopefully I'm giving you some good information to where my picks are coming from. And as I say, I want to know what your guys' picks are as well. So let me know, because I know I'm going to take some shit for picking Khabib, because there are a lot of Tony fans out there. But that's just how I see it. You'll either be right or I will. So we'll see. Just let me know what you think regarding that co-main event there. Tyron Woodley against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, coming off a beautiful rematch at UFC 205 in New York, which was a back and forth fight. I scored it for, I think it was for Wonderboy. No, I didn't. I scored it a draw. Rewatched again. I had it for Woodley. And when this rematch got made, right, I thought to myself, this is the way I was looking at it. I was like, right, I think this is the harder matchup for Tyron Woodley. Stephen Thompson is going to be able to make the adjustments to, and I don't think he got enough off it against Tyron Woodley, and maybe that was due to Tyron moving around and stuff like that, but I thought Stephen Thompson has that kind of game where he can make enough adjustments to really put a beating on Tyron Woodley. Then I moved on and I thought, well, Tyron Woodley had the better opportunities in that fight, and he can also make the adjustments there and make the adjustments to win here and make this awkward for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So been going back a little bit and forward in this one, but I have really came down what I think is going to who I'm going to pick, and my pick is going to be Tyron Woodley. Some of the things I didn't like what Tyron did in the first fight, putting his back against the fence. I think he's playing with fire in that one. Nate Marquardt put him up there and really put a beating on him and stopped him a while back in Strike Force. Against someone like, and the creative kind of person that Stephen Thompson is, you can't do that because he's so quick at getting his feet and his kicks up there that all it takes is one shot to even glance and you're going to go down. So that's something I don't want. If I'm putting money on Tyron Woodley, he needs to get his back off the cage. I try and keep it in the middle and just try and time it right where he can catch kicks and punches and weave punches and not get hit with them, because there is opportunities where Wonderboy caught him with some really nice combos and some really nice kicks to the body there that I think if in the middle of the cage he wouldn't take as many of those shots. So one thing that I think Tyron needs to do is use the leg kicks. Big legs. He caught Wonderboy with a couple of huge shots, leg kicks there, and it took Wonderboy off his feet with a couple of them. So some really heavy low leg kicks could really help him here. And I think Thompson is going to get a little bit aggressive in this one. I think he could have threw more. When I just watched the fight here literally before I started making this, he had opportunities to get more off. Now I know Woodley's you can't really commit too much on Woodley because Woodley has big power and he will knock your head back up into the rafters if you get in too close and you give him the opportunity to get off a clean strike. And we've seen that in round 4 that he caught him with one strike, got a little bit patient with it, and then caught him with an absolute huge shot which sent Wonderboy down there. I don't think he should have went for the submission. I think he should have kept the position and tried to just get off shots, even in the clinch against the cage, just try and get him off there, lock the takedown, take him down there, because that's a clear way that Woodley can win this fight. Let's take it to the ground. We've seen in round 1 there, Wonderboy had nothing on the ground for when Woodley put him down there, so that's something I think he needs to use there. But I actually think that Tyron Woodley can catch Wonderboy here, and I was pretty high on Thompson in the first fight. Coming into this one, I think it's very close, but I think Tyron Woodley's actually going to catch Stephen Thompson and put him to sleep there. And see, if I'm being honest, I actually want Wonderboy to win because I just think that he's got that skill set which it just makes for so many like dynamic kind of fights that it could do in the future. But you got to respect Tyron Woodley, and just like his hard work, his dedication, and just his skill set. He's a tough guy to fight, and he's shown so much progression since being in the UFC. But I like Tyron Woodley in this one. I like him pretty good as well. I'm going to go a third round TKO victory here. I think I can just see Woodley catching him with a shot and putting him down. If not, I can see him win a decision as well. So that's going to be my pick. Tyron Woodley, TKO, round number 3. I know he's the underdog right now, and I say that if I like underdogs, I'm going to make plays on them. I just don't think the line's juicy enough for me to really put it on. So hopefully that lifts in the next week before the fights come out. So that's my picks for UFC 209. I really appreciate if you've stayed the 45 minutes here with me. Please give it a like if you can, and if you can comment, if you can subscribe. I just want to talk to fellow fans out there. I want to know, especially with Khabib and Ferguson, I want to know where the fuck you're going on that side, even Woodley and Thompson, because I've been perplexed with Nurmagomedov and Ferguson. I really have. I've been so back and forward in it. I've listened to so many people and their sides of things, and I've went with the decision of Khabib. I feel a little bit more confident in picking Tony. I think the line's thrown me off with Tony. I really want to bet that. I really honestly want to bet that pretty hard. But Khabib's just a bear, and he if he catches the hold of you, going down. So let me know your feelings throughout the card and the fights, but literally those main event fights, let me know where you're going with them ones, and we'll see where our differences are and what you can bring to me, and I can listen to how this fight's going to be won by either guy. As I say, comment, like if you can, please, and subscribe. I'm not far off. I'm like 170 away from hitting that 1,000 subscribers, and we're going to get there fairly soon, guys, because I've had a great start to 2017. We can get there. If you want to play me in DraftKings, Bilber85. If you want to track my bets, there's Bet Tips MMA, Bet MMA Tips. You will find me. If you put my name in there, you'll find me. Capertech. You can go and have a look and see what my bets are for this card. I'll probably make 4 or 5 round about there. That's usually my limit. So all the best with your bets. Really enjoy these fights when they come around. The next fight card is UFC Fortaleza, which the card is absolutely brilliant for a fight night card. Great fights scattered throughout. Really looking forward to breaking that down. I will get that out to you probably next week, round about this fight time, maybe the Sunday after. In fact, the fight card's finalised, so I'm going to probably get it out maybe Thursday or Friday, thinking about it now. So, and I've did a lot of taping that already. So enjoy when it comes around. This card, it's going to be a really, really fun card, and good luck with your bets and good luck with your picks, and let's hopefully we can all cash and have ourselves a really profitable night. Thank you so much for sticking around with me. Shout out to all the guys who support me. Peace.